Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is my review for Arrow Season 3, Episode 17, Suicidal Tendencies, and I'm just going to say right now, best episode of the season by far. Now, I know there was that one error that we were all complaining about. However, they confirmed that that was a major fuck-up, basically, and I'm going to talk about it right now before I get to the actual episode. Of course, as we know, there is the scene where Roy is hit with power, with like the power. There is one scene, and we'll talk about it. But besides that, it was the best episode of the season. Seriously, everything in this episode I loved. I love what's going on right now in the season, and just oh my god, such a great episode. Let's just get into it. So we start the wedding hall, and it's Diggle and Lila's wedding already, and Oliver arrives 15 minutes early for the wedding. Diggle points out that the photos were 45 minutes earlier, and Felicity and Ray arrive, and Ray introduces himself to Diggle because the two never actually met, and Diggle then gets a call from Lila, who says that the minister, a friend of hers, was just deployed overseas, and Ray says that he's a minister, but refuses to go into details. I love that. I love that he just is like, I'm a minister, I'll do it. I thought that was really funny. And basically, the ceremony begins, and Ray admits that he doesn't know anything about Diggle and Lila, which he doesn't. They read their vows to each other, and it was honestly really sweet. I thought it was a sweet way to start the episode. Diggle says that he won't let her get away from this time, and Ray pronounces them husband and wife, and the couple kiss. So at the reception, Oliver watches a Diggle and Lila kiss, and Laurel comes over, and Oliver knows that she's wearing a cast, and Laurel says that her new trainer is overly enthusiastic, and Felicity comes over and admits that she caught the bouquet, and now as we know, Laurel is training with Nyssa, so I like seeing that. There's no Thea in the entire episode. The only thing we saw of Thea was that Thea and Roy went to the wedding together. That's all we really see of Thea. But Felicity then comes over, and she admits that she actually caught the bouquet. And once they're alone, Felicity apologizes for bringing Ray, and Oliver assures her that it's okay. He says that Ray's a good guy, and Felicity assures him that he's happy, and they get text messages of a news story about the Arrow killing, and realize that something else is going on. They don't know who is doing this, but they know that there's something else going on, and this is one of the reasons why I love the episode was this storyline just overall. I mean, we know obviously that Oliver isn't killing people, so just the fact that Ra's al Ghul is doing this to him, it's brutal, but it's amazing to watch, and I love it. So Oliver, Felicity, Lila, Diggle, and Roy go to the lair and watch Lance hold a news conference where he reports 8 criminals dead. And Laurel's at the conference and notes that the one surviving witness story is uncorroborated. So Ray then gives a statement saying that they can't ignore the new killing spree no matter how much good the Arrow has done for the city, as he dedicates all his resources to bringing the Arrow in. Felicity is really shocked over this. She said that she didn't know Roy was going to do that, and they figure that Roz is trying to turn the city against Oliver, and he said, which I like, because I mean, they're not dumb, they know who this is, they know it's Ra's al Ghul. He sends Roy and Felicity to work tracking down leads. Oliver then tells Diggle and Lila to go on their honeymoon, assuring them that they've got it, and I like that he told them that. He's not telling him, hey, take some time off for your honeymoon, work with us. No. Go on your honeymoon, have a good time, we'll deal with this. However, they can't do that because this episode also was a Suicide Squad episode. If you remember, I was not exactly fond of last year's Suicide Squad episode. Because I thought it took away from the story or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. It was a great episode, but I did not like it at the time. But this, I really love what they did here, because Diggle and Lila go out to their limo, and Diggle figures that Oliver's right, that they don't have to worry about anything. However, then Floyd Lawton is waiting for them in the limo, and said there's a new mission for the Suicide Squad, and which is pretty big, that there's a new mission for them, and I mean, they just can't catch a break. Diggle can't catch a break, and I really love seeing that in this episode. So at Argus headquarters, Amanda explains that 5 hours ago, terrorists attacked a hospital in Kazania. Senator Joseph Cray was there to open his personal project, and Amanda wants Lila to lead the team for the extraction. And Diggle refused to let his new wife out of his sight and tells Amanda that he's in. And the newest squad member, Carrie Cutter, comes in, aka Cupid. Yes, Cupid has joined the team, and I have to say, it was interesting to see Cupid again, because I loved her character, and I really loved seeing her work with the Suicide Squad. It was quite funny to see. And she fits really well with the Suicide Squad, I have to say. So in the lair, Oliver is practicing, and Felicity doesn't turn anything up. Roy reports a big drug shipment coming in, and they figure that Roz will go after it. And Oliver tells Roy that he's got it and gets his costume. And in Kazania, Cupid asks Lila about the wedding plans. She keeps going on about how she'll marry the Arrow, and she's still obsessed with the Arrow, which I find hilarious because the fact of what he did to her, the fact that he just like rejected her like that and things like that. I mean, we know she's a nutcase. We know she's crazy, but is she great for kicking ass? Yeah, she's great. Is she still crazy? Does that not make her crazy? No, she's still crazy. But it's just great to see her bond with them because it was really funny. So Deadshot points out that people like them don't have to get families. They receive satellite surveillance out of the hospital. And Lila says that they're not going after anyone but Cray. And Diggle is furious that they're leaving the other hostages behind. But Lila refuses to fight on their honeymoon. So we go to the past and we find out, what I like about this episode is that the flashbacks were not Oliver. They were actually Floyd Lawton because we want to know more about him. And we find out a lot more about Floyd Lawton, which I really love seeing. Floyd is returning from the war and kisses his wife Susan, and their daughter Zoe comes in and doesn't remember her father because he's been away for so long. And Susan explains that Floyd has been fighting off the bad guys, and Zoe backs away, and Susan tells Floyd that she just needs some time. Kind of relevant to what we don't want to happen to Diggle, and this is what Diggle's afraid of. And I kind of realized that what the episode's trying to show is that this is what Diggle's afraid is going to happen to him, is that he's going to be away from his wife and his daughter for a while. And think about it, Floyd was away from his wife and daughter, and so is Diggle, and we don't want that to happen to him, and I really like seeing that here. We really care more about Floyd Lawton's character, and I think they did a very good job of doing that in this episode. So as the Arrow drives through the city, Felicity provides him with the location of Roz on a roof near the warehouse, and inside, the fake Arrow takes down the drug dealers with casual ease, and the Arrow arrives and shoots the imposter in the chest, and the fake Arrow pulls it out. The two men fight, and the hero pulls off his opponent's hood to reveal a stranger. Two more League of Assassins in Arrow costumes, and we realize that this is not only Ra's al Ghul that's doing this. Everyone in the League of Assassins is going around pretending to be the Arrow and killing people, which I thought was just amazing to see, because I thought that only Ra's al Ghul was doing this. No, Ra's al Ghul has assembled an entire team to just take down the Arrow. That is their mission, is to take down the Arrow and basically ruin his reputation with everyone. Because he already had a bad rep, but he's going to get even a worse rep now. And he was doing pretty well with everyone. I mean, everyone was really liking the Arrow and things like that. And now that this is happening, it's ruining his reputation. So the Arrow takes them out, and Maseo steps out and warns that the Arrow can't kill them all, and he says that Roz sees something in Oliver, and advises him to embrace it. He then throws a smoke bomb, and when it fades, Maseo and the assassins are gone. So the Atom then flies up and scans the warehouse with a radiograph. He spots the Arrow and runs a facial identification and confirms that it is Oliver. So the next day, Ray is in his office running the footage of Oliver when Felicity comes in. He tells her what he's learned and realizes that Felicity has been working with the Arrow. And Felicity's surprised that he got the Atom suit working and insists that Oliver's trying to capture the imposter. And Ray isn't convinced, but Felicity insists that she knows Oliver better than almost anyone. And she admits that she used to have feelings for him, but it's over. And I really love what they did with Felicity and Ray's relationship here, because now that Ray is in on it, it makes it a lot more interesting between their relationship. Because the whole time just thinking, does she still like Oliver? I mean, the way she talks about him so frequently that it almost seems like she still has feelings for him. And Ray talks about how he trusted her and thought she could be someone he could rely on in his life. And Felicity asks what he's going to do, and Ray says that he's going to honor his promise to the city and bring the Arrow to justice, which, yeah, that's what the city wants him to do, but that's not what that's not what he should be doing. But of course, he doesn't really know what's going on, so we then see that the squad approaches the hospital, and Deadshot takes out the guards with a sniper rifle, moves in to join the others as they go in, and then we see Floyd, and Floyd is drinking and tries to make Zoe supper, but she refuses to eat, and Susan comes in and realizes that Floyd can't hold a job and can't socialize, so he's really suffering from, I don't know if he's suffering from PTSD, but he's just having some really bad social issues, and he snaps at her, and Susan says that he needs to tell his story to someone who understands, and Floyd insists that nobody understands, grabs Susan, pulls a gun on her, and angry says that he killed people, and Susan begs him to stop, and after a moment he gets a hold of himself. Susan calls the police, tells them that her husband has a gun, and she's freaking out. She has no idea what's going on, and it's just really sad overall what happened to Floyd. So at the lair, Oliver analyzes the League's arrows, and Roy comes in, and Oliver points out that the arrows are identical. And Felicity arrives and tells Oliver that Ray knows. She explains that Ray has built a suit, and she helped him build the suit. And Oliver's pretty furious that she didn't tell him about this, because he could have helped Ray, and he knows how to build a suit, and Ray's doing the same exact thing that he's doing. He should have helped Ray, and I completely agree with Oliver there, that she should have told him. I mean, Ray, I understand she didn't want Ray to find out that Oliver was the arrow, but Felicity basically figures that Ray is on his way to the precinct to tell Lance and wonders what they're going to do. So Ray shows Laurel his radiograph scans, and Laurel points out that Oliver was exonerated 2 years ago and points out that she can't go to a judge with Ray's uncorroborated testimony. And Ray realizes that she's protecting Oliver, and he realizes that she's Black Canary. And I like seeing how smart Ray really is in this episode. It really shows how smart he is. And Laurel warns him that if he goes to the media, then Oliver would have the basis for a successful lawsuit and might even get his company back. And Ray tells her that he'll have to seek out justice on his own and leave. So at this point, I'm just thinking, why not just ally with the Arrow? I mean, everyone else is against him. Why not just ally with him? It might just be the best thing for him to do. But you can definitely see the hatred that Roy has for the Arrow right now. So at the Casnian hospital, Cray assures the other hostages that everything will be alright. The squad bursts in shooting, takes out the terrorists, and Lila says they have to move fast. Cray draws a gun on Lila, says that they shouldn't be there, and Cupid goes for him, and Deadshot knocks her out of the way when Cray shoots. Taking the shot, she fawns on him as Diggle orders a retreat. They move to a supply room, and Diggle prepares to treat Deadshot's shoulder wound. He sees Deadshot's tattoo of his victim, including his brother, but treats the wound anyway. So Lila calls Rebecca but gets no response, and Cray calls her and says that the terrorists are mercenaries working for him. He set the whole thing up to make himself look good when he runs for president, and Cray promises that once he's elected, he'll nominate them for medals. And Oliver then comes to see Ray in his office and insists that he didn't kill. So basically, the whole thing, Cray was against them the whole time, and I thought that was really interesting overall. So Oliver comes to see Ray in his office and insists that he didn't kill the criminals, and Ray doesn't believe him and figures that Oliver's time on the island drove him insane, which honestly does make sense if you think about it. I mean, since Ray doesn't really know Oliver very well, I can totally understand that assumption. And he figures that Felicity's judgments cloud and promises to stop the Arrow, and the squad makes their way through the hospital and spot more reinforcements arriving. Lila spots thermal charges throughout the hospital, realizes that Clay plans to kill all the hostages and escape. She wonders why they came there, and Diggle says that they're soldiers who follow orders, and Lila wonders what they were thinking, leaving their daughter an orphan, and Deadshot inside insists that they're going to get the hostages out and go home. So then we go back to the past, and a woman comes to see Floyd in jail and says that they've posted his bail, and she offers to pay to kill him and keep killing, and the woman says that she's a drone, part of a hive-like organization, but Floyd says he's not interested, and the drone says that people like Floyd don't get to have families, and I really like what she says here, that love is a distraction. And again, it really alludes to what Diggle wants to. He wants to have a family. He wants to be a father. He can't do that when you're in the Suicide Squad because it's all secondary. You fighting for, your town and your city, that's your main goal. And it really goes back to what Oliver said to Felicity when he told her that he can't be in love with her, that it honestly is a distraction. And after a moment, Floyd asks who his target is, and the drone hands him a photo of Andrew Diggle. And I thought that was really interesting when we saw that. So Oliver returns to the lair and tells Felicity that Ray is stubborn, and he points out that Ray is flying around looking for a man who has killed 8 people who will end up dead. And Felicity figures that that's what Oliver wants, that he wants Ray to end up dead. But he says that Felicity deserves someone better than a man just like him. And Oliver reminds her that he can't be with her and save the city, and neither can Ray, which is true. And I like what he's telling her. I mean, Ray is no better than Oliver. It's true. Ray is trying to, what's the difference? There really is no difference. Ray is fighting for the city. Oliver is fighting for the city. Ray is just new at it and is not as experienced as Oliver is. So I like what he's telling Felicity. I definitely like that Ray is becoming a member of Team Arrow. I definitely enjoy that. So a 9/11 of suspected gang activity at a power plant comes up, and Oliver tells Felicity to have Roy meet him at the power plant. And here is where we get to the scene where everything fucked up and everyone was complaining about this. Because the Arrow and Arsenal search the plant, but no one finds no one. The Atom flies in and misses it. He faked the 9/11 call, fires energy blasts at them, which you can understand why he's doing this. He's doing this because he wants to kill the Arrow, and the Arrow returns fire, but the arrows bounce off the armored suit. When Arsenal moves in, the Atom hits him with an electrical shock, and that's the last time we see Arsenal. And everyone was complaining about this. Why would Arrow just leave Arsenal there? He wouldn't. And that's when it's actually really funny, because the writers were messaged on Twitter, and he admitted that they just fucked up and forgot to add another scene in there, which is really funny. They said they're not bringing it up next week, so I am completely ignoring it, because other than that, the episode was amazing. And if that wouldn't have happened, honestly, that didn't need to happen, because it makes no sense that it happened, but whatever. I understand Arsenal is trying to protect him, but just the fact that Arrow just left him there, and I guess they just forgot to write that in there. It's understandable why they forgot to write that in there. I mean, when you have 5 or 6 storylines, you have flashbacks to tell, you have other scenes to do. If you've missed something in there, I can totally understand that little blooper. It is a huge fluke. It is a very big fluke. It's not a small fluke, but I can totally understand it, okay? Understand it, moving on, let's continue. Okay. So the Arrow throws a dart, taking out the suit's power supply, draws back an arrow, points out that if he was a killer, and I love what he says here, because this is true. If he was, it's true. If he really was a killer, this is what he would do. He points out if he was a killer, he'd shoot now, and he'd just kill him, and he's not a killer. He's not a killer, he's a good man, and he's not going to kill him. And Ray removes his helmet and tells him to prove to Felicity what kind of man he is. The Arrow says that he has nothing to prove to her, but Ray does, and which is true. Ray has to prove to Felicity that he trusts her, and he helps him up and tells him to trust Felicity as he walks away, and I really like that overall. Just the fact that he got Ray on his side was incredible to see, and I loved it. So at the Kansanian hospital, Kray's mercenaries finish planting the thermal charges, and as the senator apologizes to the hostages, Diggle, Lila, and Cupid charge in, take out the mercenaries. Kray threatens to trigger the detonator, blow them all up, and first Diggle and then the others surrender. The senator realizes that there was 4 of them, and just as Deadshot opens fire from across the street, he shoots the detonator out of Kray's hand. The squad takes on the remaining mercenaries. Diggle gets the hostages out, and I love what Deadshot says. Deadshot says that he can't escape because he has to cover their escape. And when Diggle wonders why, Deadshot tells him to go back to his daughter, because he couldn't do that. He doesn't want Diggle to have the same fate that he had, and I just thought it was such an amazing scene. And Diggle looks up, he sees his teammate who takes out a photo of his wife and daughter. The thermal charges go off, destroying the hospital, and Deadshot killed himself. Now, I can totally understand why he sacrificed himself, and honestly, it was such an amazing scene to see. Just knowing what Floyd went through, and seeing this happen to him, he doesn't want the same thing to happen to Diggle, and it's so amazing to see, and I love that he did that for Diggle, because Diggle totally deserves to be happy with his daughter. So Felicity comes to see Ray, who admits that his ego is bruised, and she apologizes, but Ray says that he owes her an apology, and he believes her when she says that Oliver's innocent, and Felicity kisses him, and all's right between them. I really do like these two together. I think that it was good that Oliver helped them out, because honestly, Ray, while he is a great boyfriend for Felicity, and I really do love these two together, yes, there are points where I don't exactly know where he's coming from, or don't really know what he's doing, and I like that Oliver helped him out there, because he does need the help, and I thought that was a really well done scene overall, and I definitely really appreciate that. So at home, Diggle holds his daughter, and the news is writing a story about how Floyd led the terrorist in Kazania, and Lila returns home and says that Kray paid off the hostages, and Amanda blocked Lila from setting the record straight. And Diggle tells his wife some very shocking news here that I didn't think was coming, but he tells her that he's leaving Team Arrow. He's done with Team Arrow because he wants to be with his daughter. He doesn't want his daughter to be without a father. He doesn't want the same fate that Floyd had, and I can totally understand that. And honestly, it all goes back to what Floyd said, that family is secondary in this, and that family is a distraction, and he doesn't want it to be a distraction. He wants to be a father. He wants to care for them, and Lila says that the work he does with Oliver is good work, and she resigned from Argus, and she wants to set a good example for their daughter. And I like what Diggle says, that she should go back to work, and he should be the single, he should be the one at home. And Diggle says that he's proud of her, and I'm wondering if Diggle is actually going to do this, because if I remember a couple episodes ago, he was planning on doing this, so I don't know if he's actually going to do this, but I thought that was really interesting. I'm interested in seeing if he actually owns up to this, if he actually does leave Team Arrow, because if he does, I'll be very happy for him, but at the same time, it's a very tough decision what he wants to do here, so he needs to think this very carefully. I mean, I get it. He wants to be a family man. He wants to care for his family. I can totally understand that. But it's a very difficult situation what he's doing there. So that night, Felicity's going to meet up with Ray and the mayor, and Oliver arrives, and she says that Ray has had a change of heart about the Arrow, and once she leaves, Diggle arrives, and that Oliver asks about Floyd, and Diggle pours out 2 drinks, offers a toast to his teammate. Once they drink, Oliver says that they have to stop the fake Arrow before he kills an innocent, and Diggle doesn't get to tell him that he's leaving Team Arrow. It's kind of sad overall, because Oliver has no idea that he's going to leave him and things like that, and Ray tells Lance and Mayor Castle that he believes that the Arrow is innocent, which he is, and Lance isn't impressed. He doesn't really think he should be, and plus he's pissed at the Arrow. He's pissed because the fact of, what happened with Sarah and everything. He's still pissed at the Arrow, and rightfully so. It just continues the beef he had with the Arrow before. And Laurel argues with him, and Castle tries to break it up. But then, out of nowhere, Maseo across the street, dressed as the Arrow, shoots her in the chest. Everyone goes to the mayor, and Maseo is about to shoot Felicity, and that's how the episode ends. So yeah, Maseo might kill Felicity, and holy shit, things are about to get insane. But wow, what an amazing episode. I mean, seriously, this is getting crazy. And I kind of feel like the only way to stop stop the League of Assassins is not for Oliver to join the League of Assassins, but for Oliver to just kill Ra's al Ghul. I know that's what we're setting up here, is that Oliver's going to have to kill Ra's al Ghul. There is no choice. He has to. I understand that it almost got him killed, but he has to kill The problem was, he did not want to kill anyone. He has to kill Ra's al Ghul. He has to... I know he had that promise, but he needs to break that promise and kill Ra's al Ghul, because there really is no other way to get out of this, and Oliver needs to understand that, because I don't think he does understand that, and just this whole episode, I loved everything that was going on. Everything was connected so well in this episode. The whole episode, I think, was pretty much about sacrifice. It really was. I mean, Diggle is sacrificing his job for his family, and Oliver is sacrificing everything just to save the city, while Deadshot sacrificed his life for Diggle so he can be with his wife and daughter. Is Diggle really going to leave the team? That's what I want to know. I think Diggle, if he wants to leave, I can totally understand why, but I just feel like he's going to regret it if he does it. I don't want him to have the same fate as Floyd, but I'm worried that he is going to regret leaving Lila, because I really think, I mean, I understand he wants to be there for Lila and Sarah. I understand that. But he does need to think more about this, definitely. He can't just say that I'm going to leave, because he needs to think about this. Felicity and Ray, I love those two together. Is Felicity gonna get killed? I know, I heard that the next episode after tomorrow night's episode, apparently something really sad happens, and the episode after that is extremely sad and very touching. I could see 2 things happening in that episode of why it's so sad. One, it's Diggle's leaving the show, which people have speculated about, that Diggle's going to be leaving the show. I can understand that. Or 2, they're going to kill Felicity. Now, would they actually kill Felicity? No, there's no way they're going to kill Felicity. She's the fan favorite character on the show. And when I say she's a fan favorite character, I mean she's the fan favorite character. If you go on any sort of fan page for Arrow, everyone loves Felicity. Felicity is everybody's favorite character, and there's no way they kill her off. So, who I think could die is Roy. Just Roy getting electrocuted, I think, is an indication that he's gonna die. I mean, just notice that he's not being used as much and things like that. He has been very underused, but he's been getting so much lately that I definitely feel like he is at risk of dying. They said that a major character could die this season, and honestly, after this episode, I totally can see that happening, and I definitely think that Roy is a definite possibility of who could die. Um, the one person that's gonna be very hard to persuade to trust the arrow is Lance. I don't know where Lance is gonna stay with this. I mean, Lance clearly does already despises the arrow for what he did with Sarah. He's pissed at him, and this is gonna make him even more upset. I don't really think there's a way to get him on Arrow's good side. There really isn't. Even though Ray's gonna try to, I don't really think it's gonna work. And even though Laurel's gonna argue with him, he's not gonna listen to Laurel. He wants nothing to do with Laurel. So why would he listen to Laurel? Because he wants nothing to do with her. I mean, it really doesn't make sense there. So I think that definitely he is going to be the hardest person to convince to trust the arrow, because even though they want him to, it's just not going to be as easy as they think it is. Is Lila going to go back to her job like Diggle suggested? I think she should, but we'll see what happens there. I don't really know. I love the flashbacks in this episode. I just love seeing what happened with Floyd. I thought that was really well done. Definitely, I thought that was great. And I think that's really all I have to say about this episode. Overall, guys, by far the best episode of the season. I mean, so much great stuff in this episode. So many great scenes. I love that Ray is officially part of Team Arrow and that he's working with Oliver. And pretty much everyone knows Ray now. I'm pretty sure that this is foreshadowing that Ray is going to become a main character next season. It pretty much, you can tell that by season 4, Ray will be a main character. He will be one of the major players of Team Arrow, and he will always have Oliver's back. Now, one of the reasons I think Diggle could be leaving is because of the big stuff that Ray is getting. I mean, but Roy getting killed, I could see that happening and Ray taking over as, like, his sidekick, but Arsenal is Arrow's sidekick, so would that actually happen? I don't know, but we'll see what happens there. But overall, guys, love this episode. Let me know what you guys saw of this episode, and I'll see you guys in my next video, which we're going to review for The Americans, so I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.